Good evening. My name is Amrit Bhargav, an advocate and an alumnus of Shanmuga Arts, Sciences, Technology and Research Academy, Sastra Deemed University, Tanjavur, and it is my privilege to take you through the proceedings of today's event, marking the release of the K. Parasaran Miscellany, compiled and brought to you by Sastra University. I request all of you to kindly remain seated while I invite Srimati Suchitra Balasubramaniam to invoke the divinity in us.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीम् आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममां क्रमणं त्यजत परेष्वक्रममां क्रमणं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं जननीं पृथिवी कामदुगास्ते जननी पृथिवी कामदुगास्ते जनको देवः सकलदयालो जनको देवः सकलदयालो धाम्यत दत्त दयत्वं जनता धाम्यत दत्त दयत्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानाम्.
Thank you, ma'am. It is the decree of destiny that we have been conferred this rare opportunity of publishing the K. Parasaran Miscellany in honor of one of India's greatest jurists whose association has been treasured by us. Let me now invite Dr. S. Vaidya Subramaniam, Vice Chancellor, to welcome the gathering.
Most revered scholar jurist Shriman K. Parasaran, the founder and the institution builder of Shastra and its chairman Professor R. Sethuraman, the editor of Tuklak and an independent thinker Sri Gurumurthy, the director of Chennai campus who teaches many students but still calls herself a student of Ramayana, Dr. Sudha Seshayan, very distinguished members from the bench, both sitting judges and retired judges of various high courts, senior advocates, other members of the bar, and invitees who have registered voluntarily to be a part of this historic event that celebrates the achievements of an iconic personality, friends from the print and the electronic media. It gives me a very great pleasure to extend my evening greetings to all of you and welcome you all for this event, which is in honor of a very tall scholar, jurist, statesman, Shriman K. Parasharan. When I woke up this morning, I just thought about this event, and then immediately my thoughts went back to 2016 when we organized an event of a similar type to celebrate his 90th birthday. That was in Chetpat. The event was at 6:30, and when I, along with my organizing team, went into the hall at 3 o'clock, there was already a serpentine queue building, and that went and hit the Harrington Road. And all the organizing committee members came and told me it is very shocking and we do not know how we are going to manage this crowd. I told them if this serpentine queue had not been there, it would have been shocking for me, because the person in whose honor we are having this event is somebody who can magnetically attract an audience of that type. Because the audience gathered to celebrate the 90th birthday of a person who made his Janmabhoomi, Chennai, very proud because of his professional achievements in the Karma Bhoomi in Delhi. And that saw the convergence of a great man in October 2016. And it is just a cycle getting repeated itself, that as we look back and recall the association that many of us have had with this great person, we at Shastra decided that we should organize another event of that type. And just as we had released Law and Dharma in 2016, this event is in honor of Sri Parasharan and his nuanced understanding of various legal doctrines from Srimad Ramayana, and also a collection of essays from people who are experts in different domains who related their association with the great person here. And that is why today we have gathered here for this book launch. While the queue that we saw in 2016 celebrated the professional achievement, at a personal level, both as an individual and as an institution, Shastra, we have been blessed to be associated with this great man right from the late 80s. When my father was in the Indian Overseas Bank, he had an official relationship with Sri Parasharan. And then when in 1991 he came to deliver the convocation address, that time we were just a fledgling institution, not connected that much with the national highway, but still he made it a point to visit our institution and bless the institution. And when we collected the essays from various personalities, there was one common thread that was linking all the essays. All of them paid very rich encomiums to the multilingual, scholastic brilliance of this great man. And that was not new for us, because even in that convocation address in 1991, the way in which he narrated different shlokas, different analogies from various scriptures was a treat to the young graduates who left the institution in 1991. And that saw the relationship between Shanmuga College of Engineering, as it was known that time, and later Shastra, just build on its strength year after year, both at an institutional level and at a personal level. We still recall with great memories the various conversations that we used to have at his house, which went just beyond the subject of law. Having said that, it is very natural for a person of his type to collate various ideas, themes, doctrines, and relate it in a very simple way with some of our civilizational assets. And we have been a witness, a direct witness to many such conversations. In fact, this event is the celebration of his professional achievement, which he enriched year after year, and in the process enriched the constitutional jurisprudence of our country itself. Because I think the age of the constitution and his professional experience in the bar are almost one and the same. So he is very much part of the evolution of the constitutional jurisprudence of our country. That's from the professional side. From his personal side, he lived and is still living a life that is enriched with values, some of the values that even predates the constitution. So here is a person who can represent certain values of life that predates the constitution, and also an embodiment of the way in which the constitutional jurisprudence has evolved in the country by way of his professional enrichment. And such a rare combination of personal and professional enrichment is to be celebrated, and that is why at Shastra we decided we will have this event this evening in celebration of such a tall jurist, Shriman K. Parasaran. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome this great gentleman here. And it is my proud privilege to welcome the distinguished members on the dais on behalf of Shastra and on my personal behalf, and such a wonderful audience that has gathered here for this wonderful event. And as much as you are eagerly looking forward to listening to speeches from intellectuals on stage, I am also eager. So I welcome all of you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for aptly underscoring the vitality and overpowering nostalgia surrounding this occasion, as memorable as it is for all of us to recollect and cherish. Now, it is my pleasure to invite Professor R. Sethuraman, Chancellor, Shastra Deemed University, to felicitate Sri K. Parasaran with a memento signifying this evening and symbolizing the temple town of Tanjavur and its educational edifice, Shastra University. I request Dr. Sudha Seshayan, Director, the Chennai campus of Shastra Deemed University, to present a memento to Sri S. Gurumurthy. For the prime moment of today's evening, we now have the book launch. May I request Sri K. Parasaran, the Pitamaha of the Indian Bar, to kindly release the K. Parasaran Miscellany on legal wisdom from Valmiki Ramayana and retrospective, transcribed by Chamu Shiva Shastri and Siddharth Krishnan, both alumni of Shastra Deemed University School of Law, and edited by Dr. Sudha Seshayan and yours faithfully. The book has now ascended from its table of preparation and it is for our literary flavors to relish. It is my pleasure to request Sri S. Gurumurthy to receive the first copy of the book from Sri K. Parasaran, and may I request our dignitaries on the dais to kindly hold up copies of the book for our photo moment. The journey of making, editing, and compiling a book is as fascinating as the subject and personality that it covers and surrounds. In that happy context, may I invite Dr. Sudha Seshayan to say a few words about the book which has now been launched.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Most respected Shri Parasaranji, I'm not very comfortable spelling out the name given the position that I am in, just a learner in front of that Pitamaha. So I would prefer to refer to him as the author of the book. Respected Shri Chairman Sir, respected Vice Chancellor of the Sastra University, respected Sri Gurumurthy Ji, distinguished members of the audience, Namaskarams to all. Valmiki Maharishi gave us the Ramayana. I am reminded of a statement made by the Right Honourable Viscount of King James Court, Francis Bacon. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. If I may be permitted to add, there are also some books that should not only be digested and assimilated, but also chewed, and even chewed repeatedly. If one such book is the Ramayana, the same is true of this collection of pearls from the Ramayana, carefully picked and gorgeously strung by the author of this book. Ramayana caters comfortably to multiple demands at multiple levels and can fondly be called, since I belong to the medical fraternity, it can fondly be called the Sarva Roga Nivarani, offering remedies to all maladies of human life. The author, as the Navina Dhanvantri, brings out the nectar and offers the nectarine drops in very easily palatable form. Valmiki Maharishi envisaged an ideal human existence and made this desire the basis of his Itihasa. The Maharishi's vision has clearly been focused upon by the author. In one of the opening passages, Sri Parasaranji writes, if every individual meticulously adheres to his duties, there would be no transgression of others' rights. Permit me to repeat, if every individual meticulously adheres to his duties, there would be no transgression of others' rights. There will be no need to resort to adjudicatory authorities for remedies. Unquote. Though this statement may sound utopian, it no doubt reflects the ardent desire that the author has for peace and peaceful coexistence. To an average reader, the Ramayana, despite having an uncomplicated storyline, does raise several queries. In an insightful analysis of the incidences of the Ramayana, the author categorically provides answers to many of these queries. In the Ramayanic discourses and depictions, Ravana's deliberative counsel or the mantralosana is often described in vivid detail. I would like to take one example which the author highlights, and this example relates to the mantralosana held by Ravana. And when he starts the mantralosana, Ravana kind of says, Mantra moolam hi vijayam prahurarya manasvinaha tasmadvai rochaye mantram ramam prati mahabala. What does he say? He says, the wise have observed that one gets victory by appropriate counseling. So let's discuss the issue about Rama and then find out a way to deal with him. Now, this initial statement appears to be very neutral and also makes us think that Ravana was open to counseling, Ravana was open to discussion, he was open to ideas and opinions. When Ravana utters this initial statement, the Rakshasas in his court start talking. Prahasta, Durmukha, Vajradamshtra, Nikumba, Kumbhakarna, Mahaparshva, Indrajit, each one of them offers his opinion. It appears that with so many of them speaking, there would have been a detailed discussion and continuous counseling, and that is what most of us are given to believe. Many of the Ramayana Upanyasas, if you notice, deal with a detailed and elaborate description of the so-called Ravana Mantralosana. On the contrary, not much is spoken about Dasharatha Mantralosana or even Rama Mantralosana, which happens before accepting Vibhishana. There exactly is the crux. Ravana appears to have a Mantralosana. However, as he starts the Mantralosana, alongside the statement that we just saw, he also makes another statement. He says there is something called the Uttama Mantrana. And this Uttama Mantrana will mean there should be an immediate consensus amongst all the ministers. The very mention and an emphasis on the immediate consensus only indicates that there can be no deliberation, there can be no discussion, and everyone will have to accept what one person says. And how contrary is this to the way Rama and Dasharatha hold a deliberative council? Sri Parasharanji highlights this particular aspect noticed in the Ramayana and brings it out as the democratic ethos of the Bharatiya Parampara. And this democratic ethos of Rama and the Ramayana are even contemporaneously relevant. At this juncture, I take this opportunity to thank Sri K. Parasharanji, the two transcribers in Shiva Shastri and Siddharth Krishnan, the chairman of the Shastra University, the Vice Chancellor of the Shastra University, on my personal behalf and on behalf of Amrit Bhargav, for entrusting the editorial responsibilities to us. Shri Shiva Sastri and Shri Siddharth Krishnan have done the enviable but an incredible task of writing down the scholarly nectarine drops that have flowed out of the author of this book. Lord Ganesha transcribed what Vyasa thought, and Lord Shiva transcribed what Manikavachaga sang. And we now find Shiva Sastri and Siddharth Krishnan have transcribed what the author of this book related. Editing this script was a learning experience for both me and Amrit, and this experience has made us grow. Sastra is proud to be instrumental in getting this book launched, and we are sure that this book not only will serve as a reference material to the members of the legal profession, because most of it is, the legal wisdom from Valmiki Ramayana, but I'm sure it will be a study material to all members of the society. Kindly permit me to make a request here. I request all members, and especially the members of the younger generation, to read, reread, and reread this book. And for my side, I would definitely say I would keep rereading this book, cherishing every moment that I got to have with this particular compilation of the Pearls of Wisdom. Thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity. And once again, pranams to the author. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this exploratory address with multi-dimensional nuggets of insight into the book that has just been launched. An eminent jurist who has spanned the psalmist cycle of 70 and more, measured the proverbial 7 ages, and representing the confluence of the Western and Eastern traditions of the law, there are many great moments, reminiscent and reflective, all presented in this video containing a rhapsody of memories.
Must be a scholar, because Shastrajna not only learned, Kapata Anusara Kusala, he must know all the hanky-panky which the parties are capable of. Otherwise, how does he decide? Bhakta, absolutely dignified. Nachak Krodana, never lose his temper. Today, unfortunately, sometimes I feel judges losing temper. If you say you behave like this, I lost my temper, that is, it is only then you should not lose your temper. When everyone is behaving all right, if you lose your temper, what to call about you? That's the occasion when you should not. And Privy Council stated in 1945, judges are no doubt human, and their patience is often sorely tried by counsel and litigants. But it is to be regretted that judicial temper should even appear to give way, not give way. But of course, parties and counsel who are responsible to bring about the situation have no business to complain. Because justice must not only be done, but must appear to be done. Justice is primordial. If that has to hold the balance, you have to hold the balance, then we require independent judges. Only if the judges are independent, the institution will be independent. Only if that institution is independent, then the bar will be independent. And only if the bar is independent, the bar and the bench being the two wings of the bird of justice, the bird justice will fly high up in the air. The moment one of these wings flops, the bird will fall down. And if that fall down, democracy is demolished.
It is a banyan tree, because not only the trunk, it goes on living on all the, you are alone, but I've seen in those days, not now, the Adyar banyan tree. That is Sanskrit. And why did I say it's a banyan tree? Because I'm speaking a little about Sanskrit and Dharma before I come to Dharma, because the function is Samskrita Vaibhava. Therefore, it used to be said, தெள்ளிய ஆலின் சிறுபாழ்த்து ஒருவிரை தென்னீர் காயச்சுட் சிறுமீர் சிறையினும் நுண்ணிதே ஆயினும் அண்ணல் யானை அணிதேற் பிறவி ஆட்பெரும் படையோடு மன்னர்க்கிருக்க நிழலாகுமே. King with a full army, with all his horses and elephants, can have shade under the tree. That seed is only a very small one. And that word, Samskrita, is maybe one word. From that grows the banyan tree. You can see dharma, you can see philosophy, you can see debate, you can see law, you can see science, you can see economics, you can see politics. There's nothing under the sun, no subject under the sun, which you can't see in Sanskrit. And that is the greatness of Sanskrit, and that's our heritage, of which we must be proud. Judgment was delivered on Saturday. On Monday night, 8:45, at Delhi, in the residence in which I am, above the second floor is the open terrace, about 30 or 40 monkeys came. Can't imagine so many monkeys, and that too night at 8:45. Therefore, and they were playing, mirth, jumping, kicking. The next house construction is going on. They won't kick the tin which is covered throughout to avoid any pollution. There is a drumstick tree in the service lane. They broke almost all the branches of the tree. It's almost a tree now standing with only one or two branches. The hand of God has played. Lord Ram has taken care of it. 69 years he waited for it. From 1950, for 69 years he had waited for it. When he came as avatar, only 14 years of Vanamasa, and in Parnasala life, 14 years. He lived in a Parnasala. Now it is 20 years after the demolition, 29th year. Twice that time he has been in Parnasala. He had waited enough. His patience gave way. He said, enough is enough, your temple shall come. I profusely thank every one of you. I must congratulate Shastra University, Mr. Setu Raman, Mr. Vaidisku and others for the wonderful work they have already done in bringing this university to a position of great reputation. It has started a march and will never look back. The reason is they mix dharma in every aspect of their vocation. G. Ramaswamy was a wonderful lawyer. If you want to have humor in court, that was one person. Nobody can match him. He was a lawyer practicing in Madras. We were very good friends. All of us have got plus points, minus points. But never look at the minus points of others. See the plus points. If you don't have it, emulate it. If there's a minus point, ignore it. When you see yourself, see your minus point so that can you eradicate it. Don't see your plus point. Pasyati pareshu doshan. Pasyati pareshu doshan asatopi satopi naiva gunan. Viparitamitam swakarma bihi is what the Shastras say. So G. Ramasamy and his junior were returning home after going somewhere. A very heavy case, very big rich client, a very good harvest he was having. So he was returning. The car failed on the way, there was a puncture. He had given a time for the client. They must be there in time for the client. So they got down. No, we have to go in time. What do we do, sir? Luckily an auto was passing thereby. They called the auto, they got into it. They went and got down in their house. The client was also getting down from a first class imported Benz car or some car. The junior told Ramasamy, sir, if before such a client, if you come and get down from an auto rickshaw, what will he think about you? He said, don't worry, by the time the case is over, we will come in that car, he will come in the auto. Papinian, lot of pressure was sought to be exercised, imperial pressure on Papinian, one of the jurists. They were called prudentes. He declined. The message went from the royal quarters. Do you know the price you have to pay? He said, I know the price, but I can't sell my heritage for a mess of pottage. Take the price. And his head was chopped off. Please remember. Therefore, he is still remembered, till today remembered. Justice Khanna is still remembered because you stood up. Why they are remembered? Ekayeva sugrit dharmo nidane apyanuyati sarirena samam nasam sarvam anyatyu gacchati. Everything will perish. But you have walked on the path of dharma, it is immortal. This has been our concept. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, dharmo hantihata. Yato dharmas tato jataha is the Supreme Court. Satyam eva jayate is the High Court. Satyam and dharma, both are two eyes. There is no difference between them. Both are same. But conceptually it has been explained a lot, which I can't do now. But both are eyes. Those two eyes alone give the vision of dharma. Not only those two eyes. Modiyilar kedu mudanul theriyum, vidiyilar kedu vilakku. You require language. Without language, you can't know Shastras. Shastra is not merely in Sanskrit. It is in Sanskrit, it is in Gujarati, it is in Bengali. We had a Kashmir Saivism, my lord may know it. Kashmir Saivism, someday when I went to Kashmir for a case, I was presented with the book Saivism, which is Kashmir Saivism. We must learn everything. You may use them or not use them. The profundity of the knowledge will alone help. Only 4 who were role models. Bharadwaja for his knowledge, Baraspati for his wisdom, Vishwamitra for his activism, and Vidura for his nidhi. If that nidhi comes to be established, law will take care of itself. Thank you very much.
Time flies and moments fleet, but the essence and flavor of this personality have endured. The idealism and inspiration remain. In contributing their precious time and energy in the fulfillment of this task of bringing out this commemorative volume, we have received the benevolent support of many essayists who have written about their experiences with Sri K. Parasaran. In that context, may I request Sri K. Parasaran to felicitate Dr. H.V. Hande, former minister, with a memento signifying the speciality of this evening. And with a book copy which has just now been launched.
Friends, on the dais and here the distinguished audience, the significance of the great name of Parasaran. Vyasam Vasishtha Navtaram Shakte Pautram Akalmasham Parasharatmajam Bande Shukavatatam Tapo Nidhi. What is the English translation? Vyasa, I want you to carefully listen to this, the great name of Parashan. My sister, who is like this lady, Soumya ji, as intelligent as that lady, she gave me this slokam. Vyasa is the great grandson of Vasishtha, and then the grandson of Shakti. He is the son of Parashara and father of Shuka. I, all of us here, offer our obeisance to that Vyasa who is free from all defects and is a mine of austerities. It is this Parasharan, I think I am a few months younger to him, 2 months. So I seek his blessings. And finally, as long as the Rama temple is there in Ayodhya, as long as that, the name of Parasharam will be in this country. I bow down. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. One second.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to invite Sri T.K. Rangarajan, former Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, to the dais, and may I request Sri K. Parasaran to honor Sri T.K.R. with a souvenir. Thank you, sir. May I invite Sri Arvind P. Datta, Senior Advocate, to come over to the dais to collect the memento. We have with us Sri V. Lakshmi Kumaran, founder and managing partner Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan Attorneys and distinguished fellow of the Niti Aayog, who has come to attend this evening's program from New Delhi, and it is my privilege to invite him to the dais, and may I request Sri K. Parasaran to present him with a memento as a mark of felicitation. Thank you, sirs. For Sastra University, he has been the Distinguished Chair Professor for Legal Anthropology from 2013, and it has been a privilege to host him on various occasions. He is also the chairperson of the Vivekananda International Foundation, New Delhi, and a financial analyst, corporate advisor, whose unique insights into the workings of economics and businesses in India and worldwide are as inimitable as his unconventional approach to the law. May I request our guest of honor, Shri S. Gurumurthy, to address the gathering.
Revered Sri Parasharanji, I don't know how to address him actually. Our relationship dates back to minimum 1980, about which I will have something to say about how I began looking upon him as someone who has a divine spark. At that time I saw it. I was a very young man at the time, and I was fighting the Indian Express case up against him. And Mr. Sethuraman, the Chancellor of this great institution, and I have been very fortunate and proud to be associated with this institution and see it growing, as Parasharan mentioned in his speech, because it's aligned education with dharma, which is a very rare combination. And Dr. Sudha Seshayan, she spoke about the main content of the book that was released. And of course, I waded through it. It will take a very long time for me to come to terms with understanding it. I hope I will be able to find sufficient time to understand the quintessence of how our culture, our value system, our vision, our ethos are relevant even today, which I have always understood in Parasharan's presentation of the jurisprudence in the courts. And my friend Vaidya Subramaniam, and there are so many people who are present here, and this audience makes me humble. Not many audience you feel humble before, but this is certainly one of the audiences in which you certainly feel humble as to what to talk, particularly because many of you know much more than what I can tell you. To start with what Sudhaji mentioned about this book, it has always been my understanding that those who write books are so many today because of the printing machine, as Mahatma Gandhi said. Only those who were really interested in communicating their most profound thoughts and interested in the welfare of the society, not the present society, but societies and generations which are to come, they dare to write books in those days. Only those books are surviving. Ramayana is surviving, Mahabharata is surviving, all the Puranas are surviving, Kambarayana is surviving, Tirukkural is surviving. But there are many, many books which have come after the printing machine had come, and they have all disappeared. So, this is not one of the books which should be regarded as produced by a printing machine, but it is something which is so profound. As Sudhaji said, that this must be read by youngsters particularly. And those who are associated with the field of law need to know this, because law is getting divorced from eternal values of our life, which is one of the reasons for the judiciary in crisis, bar in crisis, nation in crisis, politics in crisis, conflict between politics and judiciary. All this is because of the lack of restraint, which is the very, very basis of our civilization. Now, before I go into presenting some of the hard thoughts, I would like to say a few words about the lighter side of law. In fact, about G. Ramaswamy, there was some how the clients can become insolvent and make the lawyers prosperous. Though that is the system of law we have today. So, in one of the toughest cases, when Jethmalani was appearing for me, it was the great Thakkar Natarajan Commission case, which was a political commission in which I was declared as a CIA agent by Justice Thakkar and Natarajan without inviting me. In fact, I was petitioning to be invited, And I made 3 petitions. Please invite me because this is a subject in which I was involved from A to Z. They refused to invite me, but they finally condemned me as a CIA agent. That is a very remarkable kind of work that they produced, which the Hindu called it in its editorial as banal and lacking in credibility. You can understand if judges lend themselves to this kind of task, what will be the status of the judiciary in the mind of the people. These are all things which we have to ask sitting judges of the Supreme Court. In that case, Jethmalani was going hammer and tongs at the judges. And the other side, the most difficult task of defending the judges and the government in this case was of G. Ramaswamy. So Jethmalani went as far as to call these judges in such harsh terms. G. Ramaswamy stood up and said, "Milords, there is a small spelling mistake in Mr. Jethmalani's name. He is not Malani, he is Jethmalani." So he brought the whole heat down. Law is for very intelligent people, but it used to be the subject of intellectuals. Intellectuals are those who think for the society, not for the current society, but for generations. Intellectuals are millennial thinkers. Here is one such man, a millennial thinker. You know, a statesman thinks of the next generation, they say. A politician thinks of the next election. But people like Parasharan, they are millennial in that. You know, this term itself I got when the Prime Minister of India came to inaugurate the grand temple in which Ramanuja's statue was installed in Hyderabad, in which there was a word which the Prime Minister used. Ramanuja was a millennial philosopher. He knew 1,000 years back that there would be caste problems in this society. And he gave a thought which would unify all the castes. He was a millennial thinker. You know, such millennial thinkers are needed in a country with 5,000 year history, which has a lot of scribblings on the blackboard. The history has written so many things, so many conflicting things for the present society to resolve. An American society began on a clean slate. It had wiped out all the existing population and populated the country with a new kind of people who had so much of homogeneity, including in color, way of life, religion. So their model of constitution, their way of approaching the judicial principles will not be applicable to our country. It requires a perspective which has to connect Mahabharata with the constitution, Vedas with the constitution. That's where people like Parasharan made outstanding contribution to the march of law, consistent with the Indian way of thinking. There is an Indian way of thinking, and that cannot be understood by education that draws its inspiration from outside this country. That is one of the reasons why we got into so many difficulties in the post-independence period. And there, the greatest contribution came from Parasharan for 3 good reasons, great reasons. You know, high moral standing is the foundation of judiciary. It's not knowledge. It's not articulation. It's not even reading tons of books. I will tell you my first interaction with this great man. When I told you the Indian Express building was thought to be demolished in 1980, as soon as Mrs. Gandhi came for a second term. And they had also tried to take over the land lease which they had given in 1952. And the very existence of Indian Express was at stake. And we had filed a writ petition in the Supreme Court. And there were many objections whether you quote the Supreme Court with a municipal case which is to be decided in the district court, whether you can go to the Supreme Court. Ramnath Goenka said, I would like my building to be demolished by the Supreme Court and not by a district court judge. So when we approached the Supreme Court, the person who defended the government in the first instance was Mr. Parasharan. But he didn't defend the government. He stood up and said, Milords, I want some time to talk to the government. That itself meant that there was nothing to talk against the Indian Express or before the court, that he had to tell something to the government that you are not right. How many additional Solicitor Generals at that time? When Mrs. Gandhi came a second time, she was far more powerful than she was in the first term. And Parasharan came back and reported, I will not be appearing in this case. That is the moral standing, that he could not convince the government to go back on a wrong case. But he didn't want to defend the government in that case. He didn't utter a single word about why he was withdrawing from the case. The entire bar looked at Parasharan like this in those days, when no one was willing to take on a government of that power. In one simple sentence, he said, I will not be appearing in this case. The judges were stunned. The bar was stunned. Mr. Nariman told me, I recall the moment when I sent a single line resignation letter on the proclamation of emergency. I am resigning. He didn't tell the reason, but no reason needs to be told. These are all the people who lifted the moral standing of the bar and the bench and the country and the judiciary. You see, his understanding of law, as I said, is rooted in Sanatana Dharma. It is not today's or yesterday's law or day after tomorrow. You know, in 1970s, the Constitution of India was amended in such a manner through a revolutionary thinking process, and that used to be that was seen as unstoppable. The amendments that were made to the Constitution of India in 1970 ceased to be relevant in 1990. This is what a human mind does, because it is arrested by the context. If you contextualize your thinking, you are incapable of laying down principles of life for future generations. People like Parasharan never got arrested by the contextual compulsions. They always went above and they had a helicopter view of the past, the present, and the likely future. And that is why I call him a millennial thinker. My early encounters with Mr. Parasharan was that we opposed each other. You may ask me, who are you? I am a chartered accountant. What was I doing? I was practicing law. It was a very strange combination of a chartered accountant practicing law, because when I became the advisor of Indian Express during the emergency, there was no other way except for me to become a lawyer in practice, because no lawyer will appear for Indian Express those days. And we had very, very nominal lawyers to appear, and I had to prepare all the case. So Indian Express, emergency, Ramnath Goenka taught me the principles of law. I had to get into law. That is why I became somewhat of importance in the field of law. And as I said, the first case was this Indian Express building demolition case. And another case was a very peculiar case. He was defending the government in a case where I had advised the company to rule out the vote, or that is, the financial institutions had voted against the management of the company. I told the management to reject the votes of the financial institutions. It was one of the biggest challenges for the government that the financial institutions which held 25% votes in a company are defranchised, and the company management continues despite being voted out. So Mr. Parasharan was defending. I was on a technical point that You have to pass a particular resolution to make a particular person as the representative of the financial institution. The resolution that you have passed does not comply with the principles of Section 187 of the Companies Act. Mr. Parasharan said, you see, he brought up a beautiful solution. He said, let us cancel this general meeting and have a new general meeting. So in the new general meeting, a new resolution was passed to comply with the requirements of law so that the financial institutions could vote against the management. But in the meanwhile, the management went and appealed to the government and got the financial institutions to vote for the management. The most important contribution, as I said, his high point was not when he became the Attorney General or when he won the great cases like the Bhopal gas tragedy case or any other case. He became a Rajya Sabha member. All these are not, these are all momentary happiness, satisfaction, achievement. But the Ram Janmabhoomi case is the most important in the history of India, because I was associated with that movement from the word go. I was part of the group. Of course, Mr. Datta Hosabale is here, the General Secretary of the RSS. I owe my entire development to the RSS, which had given me enormous opportunity to participate in public life without any kind of expectations. That is a speciality which the RSS taught us. So when we saw the Ram Janmabhoomi movement growing, it was in 1984 it was started, and it became powerful. And it was regarded, projected, branded as the most divisive movement not only in India but outside India. How this problem will be resolved? The entire country is divided into two, with communal color, with theological differences, and no intellectual attempt to reconcile. The only way it could have been resolved was through judiciary. And the only way it could have been resolved is through a unanimous judgment. The only way that unanimous judgment could have been got is through a counsel like Parasharan, who had the immense capacity to link the technicalities of case to the sources of our civilization. You know, this most divisive case resulted in the most harmonious judgment and led to the most unifying event, namely the inauguration of the Ram Temple. The very Muslim community which opposed the Ram Temple not only supported it, celebrated it. Today, Ram Temple is not a sign of conflict, it is a sign of convergence. And that is because Parasharan was never a man of conflict. He was a man of consensus. He could build the consensus even with the most fierce opponents working against him, with the most ferocious arguments in language which will promote violence. But he had no, in his response, there was not a spark of violence. It was always congenial. He was quoting the most unquoted, unknown, unexplored sources of Indian civilization to say that Rama was born in India. He was born in that very place. And these sources he cited were not something which could be rejected. And he brought to the judicial forum a dignity, a discipline, a convergence, an acceptance, a consensus that made Ram Temple possible in the most congenial manner. And I felt that Rama appointed him as his own lawyer. And his contribution is equally great in the Sabarimala case. All these modern thoughts that everybody is equal, there is no doubt about it. There is no physical equality. As Dr. B.M. Hegde used to say, that All people cannot be a 5 feet and 6 inches. Everybody cannot have 120 by 90 BP or sugar. These are all wrong standardization of human beings. Likewise, law also standardizes human beings. All are equal. All are equal at one level. All are not equal at another level. And only wisdom can teach us this. Only long living traditions of people who have handed down their experience from generation to generation can understand that human equality is equity. And there is no arithmetical equality. And it is on this basis that India runs. And nobody understood this country better than Mahatma Gandhi himself. You know, Gandhi's Rama and Parasharan's Rama are one and the same. What Rama was to Gandhi, he was to Parasharan also. I will quote what I had written in my article about Rama of Parasharan and Rama of Gandhi. Rama to Parasharan was what Rama was to Gandhi. Gandhi said, Rama is one without a second. He alone is great. There is none greater than he. He is timeless, formless, and stainless. Such is my Rama. He alone is my Lord and Master. My life is his. In him I live. I see him in all men. Rama the eternal is a form of Brahman, the image of truth and non-violence. In a country where political divisions had even led to questioning whether Rama, whom Gandhi revered as Brahman, existed or not, the unanimous and harmonious Ram Janmabhoomi judgment was the greatest contribution that Parasharan could have made to answer once and for all those who indulged in divisive politics over unifying Rama. And that is the highest point of Parasharan's life. That's where I felt Rama chose his own lawyer at the right time in the context of the country when India is rising as a great power in the context of the world. And the whole world is looking at what India is. And this moment which was projected as some kind of a dynamite under the unity of India was received all over the world as a civilizational message. The instrument was this great man. So all of us, you know, as somebody said in many cases, Keshavananda Bharati case or Golaknath case, all these cases have their own lifetime. But Ram Janmabhoomi case has no lifetime. It has no self-life. His name, as who said? I don't know. His name will last as long as the Ram temple and Rama's name will be there. Dr. Hande. So I am extremely happy. I have a few thoughts to share which I have shared with him privately about the Keshavananda Bharati case, about which I had very serious difference and argued with, in a nutshell I will say this, when I was briefing Mr. H.M. Sirvai. He said I had Golaknath case knocked out. I told him, sir, I am a student of law, I have read constitution through your books. Can I ask you a question? He said, yes, go ahead. He was closing his, he was such a simple man. He used to close his own office, he used to close the windows and lock the office and go. He had only one room. So I was briefing him in a case against Datta Samant, when Indian Express was sought to be closed down by a strike organized by Antule in Bombay. We fought against it in the Bombay High Court. So when we were talking, I asked him, sir, you said Golaknath case has been knocked out by you, but don't you think it has created such a confusion? Can I tell you what is the confusion? He said, yes, you tell me, because this is a subject which Nariman has asked me to discuss with you before he died, and so that discussion is yet to begin. That's why I'm saying I've sent a message to you today. So I told him, previously the unamendability of the constitution was limited only to the part 3 or fundamental rights. Now the unamendability goes to the entire constitution. Now somebody argued the other day, Kejriwal's arrest is against the basic structure of the constitution. I said only one thing in the meeting which was organized in honor of Ram Jethmalani in his memorial lecture. I said Keshavananda Bharati case was decided in 1973. Emergency was imposed in 1975. Keshavananda Bharati case could not stop emergency. It is impotent against emergency. What is the use of basic structure theory if it can't save the constitution which was being defiled? This is good only for normal times, and extending it from one to the other basic structure of the constitution is parliamentary system, and so many things which are not thought of by the constitution makers. When I spoke to Mr. Nariman that this is going in an unlimited way, the bench and the bar have glorified this judgment as some kind of a demigod to save us. Somebody should start a debate. This was my mail to Mr. Parasharan, Mr. Nariman in September last. Then when we had a telephonic conversation, he said, you please talk to Mr. Parasharan and then come back to me. I could not, because of my commitments, I could not do that. Nariman passed away, but I had sent the message to him, the mail which I sent to Mr. Nariman. I think Parasharan is the only living phenomenon which can start a debate on the damage that the basic structure theory can do to the constitution and polity of India. And I plead before this great audience that he should listen to me, and his contribution can only be not by arguing a case, by creating a debate, by writing something which will create a debate. Otherwise this country is at great risk. Thank you very much.
A journey in anecdotal references and a passage to memories, Sri S. Gurumurthy's address was an Argoside captain's survey of the starboard side of a ship firmly anchored in the cross currents of socio-political processes. Universities are not just about conferring degrees, but also about according those instruments of recognition for students in their meritorious work. On that note, may I request Dr. S. Vaidya Subramaniam to say a few words.
Before Amrit Bhargav invites the hero of the day to deliver the benedictory address, it is my bounden duty to also recognize the extraordinary work that these two young law graduates of Shastra have done in the coming of this publication. You know, this event with Sri Parasharan is the 7th in its series when it began in 1991, after which we had him deliver the Nani Palkivala Memorial Lecture to the first graduating batch of Shastra in 2013, after which he also participated in the proposed NJAC bill discussions in Chennai in 2014, and then the Law and Dharma event in 2016. And we had a homecoming felicitation in 2019, and this is the 7th event that makes this Sapta Rishi sort of event, clearly telling us that he is a lone shining star from the Madras bar that is now going to bless these young sparks that just came out of the law school of Shastra. Both Chamu Shiva Shastri and Siddharth Krishna, two 2023 law school graduates, please come here. They have worked very closely with the great gentleman here for the last 1.5 years. And as Dr. Sudha Seshan was mentioning, just like in Vyasa Bharata there was Lord Ganesha, these two twin Ganeshas were actually very, very responsible in making sure that every word of wisdom is captured in fine print. In fact, they in their own words in their book admit that they had to buy Valmiki Ramayana, read it and understand what he was saying. That itself was a very great learning experience, and it is a great blessing for you that today you will, in the immediate presence of the great scholar here, be felicitated by way of a scholarship of rupees 1 lakh each to both the young scholars. Please come, Amrit. Please come forward. Both the demand drafts of 1 lakh is in their father's name. So because Chamo Krishna Shastri, who is also here, proud parents along with his wife, a very great scholar, the founder of Samskrita Bharati. A lot of credit goes to him because I recall 6 years before, with great aspirations, he admitted this young boy and shifted his base to Tanjavur and made sure that his legal journey at Shastra continues unbroken, along with his journey in Sanskrit. He is a very great Sanskrit scholar himself. Thank you very much, sir. Then to the editors, Dr. Sudha Seshayan and Amrit Bhargav, they have very patiently compiled the work, not only of the legal doctrines of Srimad Ramayana, but collated all the essays together and made sure that this book is readable, rereadable, re-readable, as Dr. Sudha Seshan put in her own words. Each of them will be presented with a cash incentive of rupees Sambhavana. I don't want to call it an incentive, a scholarly Sambhavana of rupees 50,000 to each.
Thank you, sir. In what was otherwise one of the national capital's usual monsoons of 1983 was also the golden moment which literally catapulted Sri K. Parasaran to the acme of achievement, accomplishment and accolade. The then Solicitor General had been appointed as the nation's Attorney General, and the tenure of another illustrious lawyer, Lal Narayan Sinha, had drawn to a close. It is said that the making of legends is a saga narrated in parables of extraordinary efforts and enduring forces of faith. The strength of God that is so tellingly played in this great life is the same strength that has kept Sri K. Parasaran relevant in national life for over half a century. May I request the Pitamaha of the Indian Bar, Sri K. Parasaran, to deliver his benedictory address.
Mr. Sethuraman, the Chancellor of the University, Dr. H. Subramaniam, the Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Sudha Seshaya, one of the great scholars in this country today, Sri Gurumurthy, my good friend for a long time, honorable judges and former judges of the High Court, lawyers and jurists who are assembled here, former member of the Parliament, scholar and Sila Vidyaha who are all assembled here. When I see a great scholar of the dais, Dr. Sudha Seshayan, when I see the galaxy of those who have so kindly spared the time in spite of their other busy work to be here, when I see such an assembly of people, I suffer the handicap of standing with great trepidation. I have a second handicap of my age and speaking with some age-related problems. One such problem is, one thing which I don't like is false teeth. False teeth. Something false should not be sorted to, because Rama was not only Dharmatma but Satya Sankara. My father used to tell about some old persons arguing falsely in law, with false teeth, with falsehood when you argue. This is my second handicap. Next, if you talk on an occasion like this in Shastra University, which is reading not only the curriculum as prescribed for a university, but also inculcate in the students our culture and values, I should again talk some other aspects of Dharma. Luckily, Shastra University, particularly Dr. Vaidyanathan, knowing everything, cut my time short by putting a high place, namely the benedictory address. When I see the audience, I am wondering whether I have the eligibility. Anyway, I have one qualification, namely Vayavardha, and I invoke the blessings of Lord Ram in my favor to bless you and also to bless you all and bless me. I am only responding to what has been said. Number one, I felt very embarrassed and delicate when I hear praise about myself. By temperament, I am shy and receding and avoid limelight and publicity. Limelight also at this age. But this is an occasion which I have to cherish. Dr. Sudha Seshan exhibited as great scholarship when she spoke. I must gratefully acknowledge that what me, Mr. Shivasastri and Siddharth Krishnan made was only just the war from the mind of Valmiki. This war, Dr. Sudha Seshan and the other editor, whom you know very well, so much associated with Bhargava, made it remove all the unwanted things from the war and made it come out with its brightness. I am deeply grateful to her for her hand being an unseen hand in this book. How did this book come out? We several times meet, myself and Vajrabhramya, because with Mr. Sethuraman, my association started 3 or 4 decades back. Such association has grown day by day. ஒரு நாள் பழையனும் பெரியோர் கேண்மை இரு நிலம் பிளக்க வேர்வீழ்க்கும்மே நூறாண்டு பழையினும் மூர்கர் கேண்மை நீர்க்குள் பாசிபோல் வேர்கொள்ளாது. So, the association of his family and my family was such, it belonged to the prior category because of the Periyors, Sri Sethuraman and others. And it is no surprise that for all lavishing their affection, love and affection on me, they have brought me in on 3 or 4 occasions in these university functions. Now, Dr. Sudhaseshan also referred to the book Ramayana, not my book, but Valmiki, the original book. There are 2 kinds of books: books for the day and books for all times. Ramayana belongs to the book for all times. It is eternal and everlasting. Dr. Hande is also a great scholar. His mother tongue is not Tamil. He has translated Kambaramayana in English. He referred to some rishis from a sister, which included Vedavyas. Vedavyas was a son of a fisherwoman. But without offering our Vandana to Vedavyas, we can't utter Vishnu Sahasranama. But for him, there is no Bhagavatam, the details of the avatar of Krishna. Valmiki was a desperado. It is not my saying it. For these adjectives, desperado and about Valmiki, the Supreme Court has used these adjectives in Manda's case, in which I made the contribution. Koye said this, Mr. Gurumurthy referred to the evil of caste. In God's creation, ஏழை செல்வன் ஜாதி பேதம் இறைவனுக்கு கிடையாது. There are no castes. There is only a division of caste into 2. நீதி வழுவார் நெறிமுறையில் மேதினியில் இட்டால் பெரியோர் இடாதார் இழிகுலத்தோர். Those who walk their life in the path of dharma, நீதி வழுவா நெறிமுறையில், they belong to higher ecclesias, the higher caste. Those who serve from that path are the inferior caste. Next, Gurumurthy also referred to our association. We started as adversaries in India's first case, and the escorts case. The escorts case also, while the Attorney General had given an opinion to a private party which was also in favor of the government. I was sought for my opinion. I said, normally I can't give an opinion the attorney has given, but though his opinion supports the government, he has given it for a private party, so I can give opinion. The law minister sent the files to me. I went through it. I differed from his views. Then that the law minister put up a note and sent to the Attorney General, I don't want to go into any politics. He said, you have given this opinion, Mr. Parasan has given that opinion. That Attorney General was one of the most clever Attorney Generals, most clever lawyer I ever come across, not Attorney, Lala Sinha. He said, the Solicitor General is a careful counsel. Therefore, instead of going to the question whether I am right or he is wrong, I suggest an amendment of the previous government order which will be conformed to law and in no difficulty in defending it. And in spite of it, assisted by Gurumurthy, Nariman argued the case, one of the top lawyers of the country. I lost in the Bombay High Court. The matter was taken to Supreme Court, 5 judges heard it. The Supreme Court reversed the judgment. So, the two courts, one gave 50% to him and 50% to me. So, that is the satisfaction for both of us. Now, there's a reference to Ayodhya by Gurumurthy. I don't want to speak too much about Ayodhya, but in Ayodhya, though there was suit filed by the Hindu worshipper, Muslims, Nirmohiyakara, etc., 4 suits. 3 suits, one was done, the other 3 suits were there. Yeah, 4th suit was filed by Lord Ram Lalla himself as first plaintiff and the place of worship as the second plaintiff. The Attorney General Lala Sinha was a very, very clever lawyer. He had given it a shape. It was the will of God, Lord Ram. He made one former Attorney General settle the point and then asked another former Attorney General to argue for it. After him, I was Attorney General. I appeared originally as appearing for the Hindus and prepared the case in that right. Suddenly I was told I must appear for Lord Ram Lalla. I could appear for both, they are so conflicted. But my preparation was not as exhaustive as for the Muslim side because I was preparing the last minute. I was worried. On the day of hearing of Ayodhya, I usually start very much in advance. I never go late. I reach court at least, if the court is at 10:30, I will be there inside the court by 9:45 and at the seat inside the court hall by 10. That day, though I left the court early, it was unexpected heavy rains and the street roads, thanks to the those who are in charge of maintaining roads. The road was flooded and water was flowing like river, and it was still heavily raining. In spite of the best efforts of the driver, I reached the court half an hour late. You see, God has a wonderful way of handling things. The court looked there and then said, the counsel for the third suit, Nirvayakara, may I argue first. That is the hand of God. At every stage, there is the hand of God. Because a scientist has said, I am not quoting, I am only saying, paraphrasing. Everything is predestined. And the entire universe dances to the tune of an unseen piper. I couldn't get this quotation one day. I called my two granddaughters and said, it's a statement attributed to Einstein, will you please look it up? They immediately got it and gave it to me. It is so personal, one should not refer to his own granddaughters. I said this because they also helped me in this book coming out. Both of them helped me, but Teerja played a very important role. They had the advantage, today everyone has the advantage of computer and laptop. I can't operate on a computer or on a laptop. God gave me the strength to prepare notes for the arguments of Ayodhya. We dictated pages and pages, I couldn't write, dictated pages and pages. It was one cartload of notes. But when I argued the case, I mean courts generally, I don't use my notes. Writing once is reading 10 times. In Ayodhya, the oral evidence alone ran to about 40,000 pages. There were more than 380 or 390 documents in Hindi, Urdu, Sanskrit, Persian and French. They were all translated into English. The High Court judgment was 3 judges, separate judgments, 3 volumes of 4,300 or 400 pages. God, I am having the age problem and a fading memory. It is the hand of God which played it. That rain and the councils have started it, saved me up to lunchtime. When the judges rose for lunch, Mr. Parasan, you will continue from after lunch. That gave me time. That day, we had practically no sleep, myself and those who were assisting. We could manage. And at every stage, I saw the hand of God. When I had answered some of the difficult questions of the judges, my juniors had given me the question and answer put on that date. I asked him, did they really give these answers? They said yes. I never realized I could have argued it. It's again the hand of God. When I started my separate practice with my father's blessings. It is a peculiar feature in the case of 2 lawyers. One is myself, the other is 4 years junior to me, K.K. Venugopal, one of the top lawyers of the country. I have been Attorney General, he has been Attorney General. My father told the option issuers, but a plant under a tree will never go, it fades. Nambiar also advised Venugopal. We too started on our own, but God took care of us. As I was, after my birth from Srirangam brought to Triplicane, I was brought up in Triplicane and became a devotee of Lord Parsar. In 1957, when I started 5-8 practice, I had my own problems and days of ups and downs. I started in my pujas Valmiki Ramayana, Parayanam of Valmiki Ramayana. These have carried me through. In the Madras High Court, after I was settled in practice and purchased a car, it was after 12 years as a lawyer. Today, 12 years before they became a lawyer, they own a car. My car will, when going to court Triplicane, go round the Parsai temple and only go to court. I used to carry in my packet a photograph of Lord Parsarji wherever I had to speak, and a small Anjaneya of sandalwood that is now lost. I got a duplicate of Lord Sandal. This helped me out in my profession. Otherwise, that's going to happen. Mr. Gurumurthy said about not fighting. Rama believed not winning, but if possible, to win over. Only if you could not win over, he will win. My time is up, only 2 more minutes. Then he will try to win over. The left arm asked the right arm of Ram, the right hand laughed, because it goes first, it goes to the back. It is protected, it is not protected. The right hand said, you are forgetting which are the arms of Lord Ram. I am going here near his ears and whispering to him, do you want to give one more chance to win over, or shall I finish? That is Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana is a Ratnakara, and it is the Ramayana, the Dharma, path of Dharma on which Rama travelled. But as a Charita, it is Sita's Charita Math. When children go to the beach, they collect a few shells. When a fisherman goes to the beach, he goes into the sea and collects some fish. When a diver with profound knowledge and a scholar goes into the deep waters of sea, he dives into the water and brings pearls. That is why sea is called Ratnakara. Justice T. Ramaswamy was a great Sanskrit scholar, has written a judgment in the Madras High Court, sitting with Chief Justice Rajamandar, and quoted Ratnakaro Varibihi Amburasihi. The rain drops which falls, and the shells become pearls. They go down the sea and they become pearls. Nature, the sky and the sea, may create that Ratnakara. Therefore, Valmiki Ramayana is Ratnakara. There is geography in it, geology in it, history in it, and law in it, justice in it, dharma in it, and whatnot. There are 40 authored books of Ramayana from Valmiki onwards. This is what a great scholar who is hailing from Patna, hold a very high police office, IG of police, without retired, is a great Sanskrit scholar. He said many of them are in manuscripts in libraries, and some more, and there are other authors like Valmiki, Kamban, and Tulsi and others. And those are a few more ideas which I have no right to transgress the time limit. And the Ayodhya case, luckily, the judgment is the court exercises its power under Article 142 of the Constitution. The Hindus got Ram Lalla to worship. The Muslims got a place for building a mosque to worship. And as Guru said, even many Muslims are satisfied. This is the judgment in the Ayodhya case. Therefore, it was a happy ending to a long fight of witches, and Rama being on exile for nearly 5 centuries, not the 16 years of education alone. For 5 centuries, a mosque stood there. Today, a temple stands there. Dharma, not only Dharma Rakshati, but there's another saying, Dharma Hanti Hataha. Dharma kills those who kill it. Dharma can't be killed. Who appears to kill it, who attempts to kill it and then gives an appearance that it has killed it. But it can never be killed. It will kill the person who tries to kill him. Therefore, the mills of God grind, but surely and nicely. The mills of Lord Ram ground, and very, very nice grinding. It brought about the result is today we are having a temple. Therefore, Ekayeva Suru Dharma, in an opinion I have already told in this university. Sarirena Samam Nasam, Sarvam Anyatri Gachati. This body will have very someday. But the Dharma is everlasting and eternal. The Dharma followed by Lord Rama when God came in our avatar as a human being will last forever. The temple will last forever. May their blessings make you all live a very happy life and invoke the blessings of the Lord as a benediction for the prosperity and happiness of all of you and also to bless you. Thank you so much. I thank you all for having spared your time and come on.
What we just now heard is the wisdom of the ages and an address that provides a glimpse of his commitment to constitutional values and human dignity as amongst the supreme values of law and life, as written by Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, former Chief Justice of India, for this newly launched book.
That my father was born after the Ramayana Navaham in Rameshwaram, and that's why he was named Sethu Raman. To recall that birthday moment, he wanted to get the book copy from Sriman Parasaran himself.
We say that Sri K. Parasaran is a great lawyer for having represented and given the best advice to his clients, that he is a distinguished senior advocate for his absolute tenacity in submissions and persuasion, that he is a jurist of great renown for his encyclopedic knowledge of that interplay between the knowledge of judicial power and the power of judicial knowledge. He was a great attorney general for his services to the country, an all-weather friend for his help. He is a great human being for his optimism, affection and compassion. For us at Shastra University, honoring Sri K. Parasaran has only enriched our institutional ethos. This evening has been special and close to all of our hearts and gladdened our thoughts. For such an evening, there are many reasons and individuals to thank and acknowledge. May I request Dr. Sudha Seshayan to propose the vote of thanks. And before we end the day's program, there are copies of the book being provided in the building below. It can be collected at the convenience of the audience while going.
Namaskaram, and thanks a lot, Amrit, for reminding all of us that there are many people who need to be thanked. Generally, the vote of thanks is supposed to be very short, and everyone requests the person who proposes the vote of thanks to be very brief. But then, kindly permit me to thank everyone who has contributed to this magnificent occasion. At the outset, our very sincere thanks to Shri K. Parasharanji for giving us this opportunity of associating with this book, and the members of his family for sharing all the material and photographs to make this book a treasure, a real treasure. Thank you very much for that. Our special thanks to Shri K. Parasharanji for illuminating this evening, sir. This evening got a new glory and a new light. Thank you very much for your powerful presence, and no number of words would be sufficient to express our thanks. Thank you very much, sir. It is my duty to thank the chairman of the Sastra University and the Vice Chancellor of the Sastra University for all the guidance and support that they gave us through this book, through the journey that we had in compiling this book and getting this function organized. I would like to offer our deepest thanks to Shri Gurumurti Ji for being here this evening, and thank you very much, sir, for training all of us to think the Indian way. Our special thanks to the contributing essayists who made it to be here this evening, Dr. H.V. Hande, Shri TKR, Shri Lakshmi Kumaran, and Shri Arvind Dattar. I would like to thank Shri Amrit Bhargava for taking us through this program in an absorbing way. And I'm also personally indebted to Amrit for the unstinted support he gave during the editing of this book. Our thanks to all the young lawyers in making, those lovely boys and girls whom you see there, the volunteers, the students of the Sastras Law School. Thank you very much, young men and women. Our special thanks to all the very important attendees here, not only in the first row, but then in all the other rows too. Special guests who would individually be chief guests to several important events, but all of them sitting here amidst the audience and blissfully enjoying the Ramayanic legacy. Thank you, all of you. And our thanks to all the members of the audience, as mentioned by our Vice Chancellor. Many of these members pre-registered for this program and were fondly awaiting the occasion. Thank you very much, all of you, sirs and madams, for your enthusiasm that motivates us to do more and more. Our thanks to Sri Krishna Iyer and the Sumukha agencies for aesthetically designing the book and the splendid presentation. Sri Krishna Iyer would bear with all the calls and messages that would very often be made at unearthly hours and still rise up to the occasion. Our thanks to Sri Kumar of Cool Events and his enterprising team for all the wonderful arrangements on the dais and in the event as a whole. I would be failing in my duty if I do not express my thanks to the Sastra's creative team comprising Ms. Pradeepa and Dr. Vijay Bhaskar for their creative inputs, including the video that you got to see here. Our thanks to Capital and Satvika Kitchen, to the Sastra's technical team consisting of Thiru Hemant, Thiru Yuvan, Thiru Kishore and Thiru Vijay, to Sastra's administrative team in Thiru Kumar Subramanyam, Srimati Vidya Sriram, Thiru Srikant, Thiru Shivashankar, Thiru Shankar, Tirumati Akila and Thiru Prasad, and of course, a very, very, very sincere thanks to the Almighty, to the Parampurul, to our dear Rama for bestowing the grace on all of us this evening. I'm reminded of a statement by Lakshmana in Kambaramayanam. Lakshmana says, Sollinal solakkatrilam. உங்கள் எல்லோருக்கும் நன்றி சொல்லுவதற்கு சொல்லினால் சொல்லக்கற்றிலம் நன்றி வணக்கம். All of you may collect your copy, your personal copy, which is made available at the ground floor. As you leave, you may collect your individual copies. 1 copy per family. Yeah, it's free of cost. Rama always offers everything free of cost, and here is Rama's Parasharanji's blessings. Thank you.
I request you all to rise for the national anthem.
भारत भाग्य विधाता
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा
द्राविड उत्कल बंगा
विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा
उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नाम जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे